Football Hall of Famer Luke Kuechly here on the Rich Eisen Show. Hey, buddy. How you doing?
Rich, that was good, man. I've
Dude.
seen it a bunch, and it's still cool to see that, man, with Pep standing in my house, and then they showed the video of me sweating my face off when they started talking to me. I was
It's
I
not
was
Luke,
nervous, man.
Luke, it's all good. And so where were you coming from? Where were you coming from?
So JJ Jansen, our long snapper, he turned 40 on Tuesday. This was a couple Tuesdays ago, and I went to dinner with Andy Dalton and JJ for his birthday on Wednesday. We had an hour-long dinner, which was super abnormal for that group of guys. Usually it turns into a 3-hour dinner where we talk about everything and think that we solve all the problems in the world, but literally don't figure anything out. JJ for his birthday, we had a drink, we had an appetizer, we sat down, had dinner, and no one had dessert, and we left and went home. And I thought that JJ turned 40 and wasn't cool anymore, and Andy had a roll too. And then I showed up, and Pep was standing in the family room of my house, and I said hi to my family, and I look at the front door, and guess who comes strolling in? JJ Jansen and Andy Dalton with big smirks on their face, knowing that they had set me up at dinner, and they wanted me to know that they were still cool, even though we had an hour-long dinner.
Luke Kuechly, Hall of Famer, here on the Rich Eisen Show, talking about how he learned being in the Hall of Fame. I'll be honest with you too, Luke. Just to stray from your enshrinement in this for a second, how many snaps can Pepper still give you, do you think? I mean, I look at him, and he looks like he could still play football, Luke.
I mean, yeah, you want to. I think he'd come in and be one of those rush ends on third down where you overload one side and just let him work on the backside on a tackle and let him go win.
He's unbelievable. There's some guys, as you will find out, because I've been around, covering the Hall for a long time. There are some guys who just look awesome in their gold jackets now, as if they were wearing it as a rookie, right? Mel Blount is one of them. Mel Blount, if you've ever met him, but hopefully you will, certainly coming up this summer. You look at him, and I'm like, he could still give me snaps, and then he wears his cowboy hat, so he looks like he's taller than he really is. But has it hit you that you are now part of this group, Luke?
Slowly, I think the further away I get from Pep showing up at the door and me being out there in San Francisco for the Super Bowl, the further away you get from it, the more it kind of settles in, and it's pretty cool. That's what I've told everybody. We had a luncheon on Friday after NFL honors on Thursday. So Thursday was honors, Friday we had a luncheon, and before the luncheon you go in this big room and there's 35, 40 guys all in jackets. And that to me was was cool. And it's the guys you look around, and I love football. I've loved it since I was a little kid. I've watched football since I can remember. And there's dudes, it's John Lynch, it's Warren Sapp, saw Marshall Faulk in there. I talked with Rondé Barber for a while. And then you just look around the room. You don't get a chance to talk to everybody. But then Isaac Bruce was in there, and I don't know, Kurt Warner's there, and Steve Young. And you look at all these dudes that you grew up watching and you wanted to be like, and they have their jacket on, and it's so cool to see all these guys in their jackets. And then you kind of got to pinch yourself and say, wow, like that'll be all when Canton rolls around, I'll be in the same situation as them, which I think is the further away you get from it, the cooler it gets.
Is this what you dreamt of growing up in Cincinnati, Luke?
I think when I was a little kid, I think I dreamt of running out on Friday night under the lights at my local high school, St. Xavier High School, wearing a blue jersey with a white helmet with an X on it. And then as you get older, you think, man, maybe I can play in college. And then you get in college and you say, maybe I can play in the NFL. I don't think this was ever something that I thought in a million years would happen. I went up to Canton with a grade school buddy when I was in grade school, and we went through the Hall of Fame, and we looked at the busts and the rings and all the exhibits of the guys that had given their gear to Canton to throw in the Hall of Fame, which I thought was super cool. And you never think that you're ever going to be in that same club as those guys. So I think, like I kind of mentioned, it started to slowly settle in, and it's super cool.
And then the neat thing too, Luke, that I think you're already gleaning, is you get randomly thrown into a group of men as a Canton class, right? That you're now going to be attached to the other four guys who are in this Hall of Fame class with you. And I'm wondering what it was like when you were backstage at honors. Was that the first time you guys were all together as a class? You and Breeze and Fitzgerald and Vinatieri and Roger Craig,
Yeah,
Luke?
so we met up at the hotel, and got on a bus and went to honor. So that was the first time that we were all together. But I think this is what the thing that I think is great about the class is, we all played against each other. I played against Larry a bunch. We played him in the regular season. We played him twice in the playoffs. Um, First ballot guy, arguably a top three receiver ever. And then, Drew, I got spoiled playing against a guy like Drew. Every year we played him twice in New Orleans, and we played him three times in 2017 in the playoffs. And you get you don't have I never it was just Drew Brees and Sean Payton, and he's going to throw for 1 million yards, and you don't appreciate it as much because you play him so often.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get done playing, and everyone's like, "Who's the best guy that you played against, quarterback wise?" And without even thinking, I always say Drew. Just the command he had for that offense, his ability to go through progressions, his ability to evolve with Sean, his ability to just you watch him. I told him, I was like, why used to watch you in pregame before we had helmets and jerseys and pads on, just going through his pregame stuff. He would go through all of his drops, all of the routes, and he'd take his steps, and every drop that he had was exactly the same.
Mm.
His head would be down the middle of the field. He'd get to the top of his drop. He'd take his footwork. He'd snap his head where he needed to. He'd throw a perfect ball based on timing, and then he'd go to read two, read three, read four, and his feet and his shoulders and his body position would always match everything. He's one of a kind. And then you look at Adam, a guy that I played against when he was in Indy, and a guy that I grew up watching with him in New England, and then obviously him with the Colts, one of the best to ever do it, all-time points scorer in the NFL history. And then Roger Craig and Drew. Drew made a really cool comment about Roger. I think it was Drew, it might have been Larry, I forget who it was, but they said they had a conversation with the quarterbacks in San Francisco, Montana, and Steve Young, and they always talked about, hey, how great Jerry Rice was, and Ronnie Lott, and Dwight Clark, and Montana, and obviously Steve Young. But they said the sauce that made that offense go was Roger, and he was ahead of his time, and the ability to catch the ball out of the backfield and also run the ball as effectively as he did was special. So I got to play against three of those guys for meaningful parts of my career, and then obviously Roger getting in. If you watch his knock with the guys that were there, it was Ronnie and Charles Haley. It was just is special watching him, how excited he was. And
Yeah.
and the guys are, I tell you what, the four dudes that are in are great, obviously phenomenal football players. That goes without saying, but great people. We got a chance to be around their families and just great people. And I think that's what makes it even cooler as well.
Yeah, two Walter Payton Men of the Year award winners there, and Breeze and Fitz, and first ballot Hall of Famers. And I know you never played against Roger Craig. You mentioned Marshall Faulk earlier in this conversation, Luke Kuechly. I mean, Marshall will always tell you that Roger Craig, being the first thousand guy, was someone who helped pave the way for his ability to play the game the way that he could. And then a teammate of yours in Christian McCaffrey is like the modern day version of it, Luke.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Christian's unbelievable. Yeah, I'm so happy for him the year that he had in San Francisco. Just it's not surprising what he does consistently as he does. Just his work ethic, his love for the game, his understanding of that Shanahan offense is just will and desire to be great, and his competitive attitude. He's a special player. He's a special person, and for him to have the year that he did is just who he is as a person and as a player.
Yeah, he wins comeback player of the year the night that you were on the same stage too of NFL honors, and and you are one of three Carolina Panthers now to be in the Hall of Fame. The guy who showed up in your house, and Julius Peppers, and the late Sam Mills being the other one as well. I mean, that's gotta, I imagine, mean something to you as well, Luke, right?
Yeah, I think I'll talk about Pep first. And when I got to Carolina, they had a hallway of guys that got in the Pro Bowl. So, Ryan Cleo, Greg Olson, Wesley Walls, obviously Cam, Smitty, Gross. I'm missing guys, I'm sure, but I remember Pep's picture that they had. It was him in a white jersey, in his visored up helmet, and he was holding a football in front of himself after he had an interception, a fumble recovery, and he just looks like an absolute stud. And I just remember hearing from all the guys stories of Pep. Hey, when Pep was here, he used to do this. When Pep was here, he did that. This is what Pep did against Michael Vick. Hey, you should have seen the time that Pep made this interception and ran it back 90 yards for a touchdown. So there was this legend of Pep for the longest time, and then he came and I had the opportunity to play with him for his last 2 years in Carolina, and it was, to me, it was super cool to play with a guy like Pep, a guy that I grew up watching and that I had heard so much about from my early time in Carolina from guys that had played with him previously. And then Sam Mills. I mean, there's the motto for the team,
Keep
it's
pounding.
stitched in the back of our jerseys, is keep pounding. And that
Yep.
was a Sam Mills thing. Obviously, the story of Sam with his cancer and his impact on the team, and his impact really on the room that I was in, the linebacking room. So it was Sam, and then he set the stage, and then he coached Dan Morgan, taught Dan everything. Obviously, Dan had a phenomenal career, now the GM for the Panthers. And then after Dan, it was Thomas, and then Beast, and then we had a couple other guys, and then I showed up, and then Shaq Thompson. Now it's continuing down, but the dude that started the standard for linebacking play and how to play the game of football was Sam Mills for the Carolina Panthers. So the two dudes that are in for the Carolina Panthers are phenomenal football players, but again, just great people. And yeah, just super fortunate to be there with those guys.
Luke Kuechly here on the Rich Eisen Show, Pro Football Hall of Fame class of 2026 enshrinee. In the few minutes I have left with you, let's talk about the Panthers now. I know you're in the radio booth for them. What a year. What a year for the Carolina Panthers. When a team finishes under 500 and gets to host a playoff game, they normally get a lot of slings and arrows sent in their direction, but they almost knocked off the Rams for a second time this year. What has happened there that gives you or anyone else the impression that this is now, like, we're ascending here, right? Like, where do they go from here?
Well, I think the first thing is just stability. The stability that we have with Dave Canales, obviously the head coach, Dan Morgan, our GM, Brant Tillis, and David Tepper. I think all those guys, those four guys, have a great feel for what needs to be accomplished. I think they trust each other. They let everybody do their jobs. And the energy and the feel in the building is where it needs to be, as far as great place to work, great place to be competitive. Canales right here is just the ultimate example of just consistency. He's able to make difficult decisions. He's able to make the decisions that are the best for the team, regardless if they're easy or not. I think that we've gotten better each year that he's been there. And I think that Bryce has continued to get better each year. Obviously finished year 3, and he's on an upward trajectory. I think his confidence in himself and his confidence in the offense, the last probably 5-6 weeks of the season, you really saw it, and you see it in his demeanor and his body language. And one thing that I noticed was at Super Bowl this year, everybody does Radio Row and get asked a million questions. The answers that Bryce had in Radio Row this year felt like a guy that was very confident in where he was, very comfortable, knows who he is. I think he believes that the team has his back, which they obviously do. And he looks like he's ready to take off. And that's been a little bit different than he was in the past, where I think he's been trying to figure it out. We've had different coaches. We've had different play callers. We've had different guys that got brought in. But now it's Dave Canales. It's his offense. He was in year 2 this year. We're in year 3 next year with Canales and Bryce. I think he's very comfortable. I think he's very confident. And we're slowly building a team around him to help him play well. Obviously, the rookie McMillan was phenomenal. Teteroa McMillan right here with Bryce. He had a great year, 1,000-yard receiver, rookie of the year. And then the one guy that really kind of came on at the end of the year was Jalen Coker, second-year kid out of Holy cross, he's big, he's physical, he catches the ball outside of his body, and he's competitive as hell. And I love it. We're slowly getting there. We're a young team that is starting to figure out, hey, we got a chance to be really good. We've got great coaches. We have a great situation. I think this is going to be a big offseason for Dan and Brant to go get some guys in free agency and nail the draft. And I think if we do that, we put ourselves in a really good position to take a big step this year.
In the few minutes I have left with you, what's your opinion of the Seattle defense? You personally eyeballed them. You were in the building.
Yeah,
Super Bowl 60.
they're fun, man. They're fun.
Yeah.
They're good up front. Their guys on the inside are super active. Their edge guys are good. The one guy that I love to watch that I think really makes it all work is Eamon, that rookie out of South Carolina. So much of the NFL has become, can we play nickel and hold up in the run game? And then it's like, all right, well, if we're going to play nickel and they spread us out, can that guy that is like that pseudo Sam Backer nickel big safety, can he get stretched out and play in the slot as well? And this Eamon kid, this rookie, he's big, he's long, he's physical. He can play super disruptively in the run game. He can blitz, and then they can split him out, and he can play equally as well in the slot. They're big and long on the outside with Witherspoon and Rick Woolen. They're good everywhere, man. Ernest Jones had a phenomenal year. Leonard Williams up front, DeMarcus Lawrence, and Wusu. I mean, you go down and look at that roster. They're really talented. And then Mike McDonald and how he runs that system. It's simple, it's easy, but when you play against them, it happens so fast. They're so physical. They have such great length that they're not just playing cover 3 with normal dudes. They've got pass rushers that make the ball come out. They've got great length in the secondary. They can match up with you however they want because of the Eamon guy. They're super talented. They're fun to watch. And you know who I'm really happy for, though, is our guy Sam Darnold for what he's been through in the resiliency that dude has showed. For him to get to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl, it makes a lot of people really happy. Look at him. Just that's like, look at that smile, man. That smile says, I've been through a lot, but it also says, I've always believed in myself. And look at that. Look how happy that my man is right there. It just makes me, that's what football is about, is dudes that run the roller coaster. They're up, they're down, they're on different teams. People say they can't do it. And then you know what Sam does? He sits behind Brock Purdy and learns in that Shanahan system. And then he goes with O'Connell for a year in Minnesota, has a great year. And then they lose the game in the playoffs and everyone says that he stinks I don't understand why. And then all he does is go to Seattle and sling it around and go win a Super Bowl. So, I mean, Sam deserves everything that he's gotten. All he's ever done is work hard and grind and believe in himself and say, I'm going to continue to get better. And then we have those pictures that you guys just put up there of him smiling with the Lombardi trophy in his hand. And that's what the game's about. And I'm so happy for him.
You deserve it too, man. You deserve to be on the spot where you played your Super Bowl. I know the result wasn't what you wanted in Super Bowl 50, but you deserve to be on that spot 10 years later, introduced as a Hall of Famer to that crowd, man. You deserved a moment like that. I heard, from the knock on the door video, Greg Olsen tell you that you don't talk about yourself enough. So let others do it for you. And in that regard, do you know who's going to be introducing you? Have you decided that yet? Is that a decision?
I gotta figure that part out. So it's been a whirlwind, obviously, the last couple of weeks. And I got to figure, there's 2 of them I got to figure out. So who's going to introduce you,
put the jacket on
enshrinement day, and then who's going to put the jacket on you too. That'll be I've learned that'll be on Friday night. So I got some figuring out to do, and it'll be fun, whoever it ends up being. But Greg's a stud. You already know that. Everybody knows that about Greg. So
yeah, and we send our condolences to him losing his brother. Luke, you're the man. And listen, part of this as well is a party. Tepper's got deep pockets, man. Do not be humble about it. He's got to dig deep. Let's throw a bash for you in Ohio. Okay, that's your home state.
I'm gonna have you represent me and be like, hey, Rich needs to talk to you, Mr. Tepper. We need to get this thing going.
Yeah, Dave, I'll just do it through the camera on ESPN. You got the cash. Let's go. He's a Hall of Famer. He's a Carolina Panther. Let's go dig deep and let's throw a party for this man. How's that?
Thank you.
Did that work for you?
That's perfect. That's great. That's
I directed straight to camera. Thanks for the time, Luke. You're the best, bud.
Thanks, guys.
You bet. Congratulations to Luke Kuechly,
Yes, sir.
Pro Football Hall of Famer in the second ballot. Right.